Hello and welcome to the Srijan Wednesday webinars. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is a community initiative by Srijan Technologies, where you can tune into a variety of sessions across the fields of technology, entrepreneurship, and community building. In today's session, we are joined by Sugandh Khanna, Drupal developer at Srijan Technologies. In this session, Sugandh shares with us the intricacies of the migrate module and how it can simplify lives for Drupal devs involved in migrating from Drupal 8 to Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. She also looks into the common problems that come up in a D7 to D8 migration and how to resolve those. Before we begin, I would like to request all participants to please type in any questions that you have during the presentation, and we will take them up in the last 15 minutes of this session. Also, please don't forget to take the conversation live on Twitter using our hashtag StrijanWW. You can share your thoughts by tagging us in your tweets using our handle @Srijan. Now that that's over, let's get to it. Sugandh, over to you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Sugandh Khanna, and I recently joined Srijan Technologies as a Drupal developer. And I'm having 4 years experience and contributed 2 modules, autocomplete, note search, and email token to Drupal community. And you can follow me on Twitter, Sugandh Khanna 92. Yeah. So today our topic is simplifying migrations to Drupal 8. So today I'm gonna deliver a presentation on this. So our outline, presentation outline is what is migration and earlier approach of migration and why we need it and migrating configurations. So what is migration basically? So the dictionary meaning suggests movement from one part of something to another. In Drupal way, it is migration is an extract, transform, and load process. So what is an extract, transform, and load process? For historical reasons, like in the Drupal migration tool, the extract phase is called a source, which is a source plugin. So if you can say here how Drupal migration tools work, it's a contributed module that Drupal community provides us. So internally, how it gonna work is there is an API that extracts things or a content from a source, like your source is a Drupal 7, and after that, another phase comes transformation, where the original mapping of the content takes place, like from a Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, how the content gets mapped into entities. And the last stage is a loading, where you have to place your entire content as a destination. So that's why we call it as an ETL process. So you can say it's flexible services and innovative solutions at effective pricing. So earlier, what we have to do is, like, earlier approach of migration is we had a huge site, and obviously if we're gonna create a site from scratch, like Drupal 7 site from scratch to Drupal 8, so it's a lot cumbersome and a time consuming thing. So for example, in Drupal 7, if you have a site, so it might contain hundreds of content types, and it's 2,000 of fields and a lot of taxonomies, and you have a large number of entities over there. So what will you gonna do? Like, will you going to create each and every content type with its properties from the scratch in Drupal 8, or you can use a simple migration API that Drupal 8 provides, and it is also included in its core. So this is an easy term, where migration API helps us a lot and like saves our time so much. So yeah, this way, the drawback of earlier approaches is if we are going to create a content type, then creating in content type from initially and adding all these things manually. So it will consume a lot of time like this. So that's why the Drupal 8 right away is for an existing simple project, Drupal 8 migration is really helpful and it can be migrated Drupal 7 content to Drupal 8 very easily. So for an existing site, simple project, yes, we can suggest Drupal 8 right away. And for existing complex project, definitely no, because in a complex project, there is a lot of PHP code. There are custom codes if we are creating a content type and its field. So there is a lot of custom coding and creating custom fields also. So it's a bad idea to migrate from 7 to 8 if you have a fields of your content type that have been created programmatically. So the suggestion is definitely no for migration for Drupal 8. And for a new project is definitely yes, you can simply using the migration API provided by Drupal 8. So why migrate API? The migrate module provides a flexible framework like for migrating content into Drupal from other sources. So out of the box, supporting for creating core Drupal objects such as nodes, users, files, terms, and comments are also included. It can easily be extended for migrating other types of content, and content is imported and rolled back using a bundled web interface, migrate UI module that Drupal provides, and including Drush commands. So yeah, Drupal 8 is shipped with two core modules that provides API for migration. So one is a migrate and the second one is migrate. It's called Drupal, it's a machine name. So migrate what does, it's basically a core module that provides underlying API for migrating configurations and content to Drupal 8. And what migrate Drupal underscore Drupal does is this Drupal provides the classes specifically that needed to migrate configurations and contents from Drupal site to Drupal 8, Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. So this is an extension that with the help of this we can use its API and its contributed modules and several Bash commands that will gonna help further to import your content from 7 to 8. So these are the modules that I have enlisted and which are provided in core, and these are experimental because their UI part is not completely built. It has some, the work is under construction, like Drupal community is working on it. Migration related contributed modules. Recently that I have shown you the four modules which have provided by Drupal, and these three modules are the contributed modules which Drupal has provided. The first one is the migrate upgrade. So what this module basically does is it provides the tools necessary for performing an upgrade from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, both a simple user interface as well as Drush commands. And Migrate Plus, it's again a contributed module that provides optional enhancements, including groups and prepare row events to the core Migrate API. And there's a Migrate tool, the part of the Migrate Plus project, and this module provides optional Drush and UI tools for managing your migrations. So there are many commands for migration like migrate underscore status, which you can say MS, and migrate rollback, migrate import. So if you are not, if you cannot install this migrate underscore tool, then you cannot use these commands, these Drush commands. So this is an extension with the help of which you can use the migrate API Drush commands. So these three modules, when you will install and enable it, so it will look like this in Drupal. So now come on to migrating configurations. So migrating configuration, there are two ways. First one is migrate upgrade module UI, and second one is you can migrate via Drush. So executing a migration. So in order to migrate Drupal 7 content to Drupal 8, we have some prerequisites. Like your PHP version should be higher, 5.6 or greater, and you should have your Drush version installed, it's 8.x, and a Drupal 7 site database, and source should be localized, and the very latest version of Drupal 8, I think recently it is 8.3.6, and having the migrate upgrade module downloaded and enabled, which will turn on all the various dependencies like migrate, upgrade, migrate, Drupal, and migrate. These three modules, these two modules, migrate underscore Drupal and migrate, these automatically get enabled. And the last one is write permissions for Drush to the config directory. For example, this sudo, this command which you are saying for to enable or giving the right permissions to this folder. So when you install it and enable those modules, so you will come onto a home screen of Drupal upgrade. So the screen will gonna look like this. So this is the migration process. So how it's gonna work like, first prepare target site for migration. The thing is, like for example, you have a Drupal 7 website, and in Drupal 7 website you have a database. So first install the database in your PHP MyAdmin from which you are going to import or export content. Then run migration with database and file credentials to source. It is your when your whole database gets set up on Drupal 7, then after that you can install your fresh D8 version site in which you are going to import your content from Drupal 7. So after that, you can review migration messages and resulting site. And if it is not done, then you can roll back with the migration. If it is done, you can uninstall that contributed modules, the migration modules. So this is the whole migration process. So this is like how you will gonna connect from D7 to D8, because there is a separate Drupal 7 database and there is a D8 database in which you are going to import your contents. So there is one term like this is a connection we are going to establish. So here is like legacy. Legacy is what it is, acts as a bridge between D7 and D8. So let me show you in where we have to write this whole code over there. So here in settings.php file, what you have to do is, this is a connection for your Drupal 8 site, and there is a one database that should be there in your local setup. For example, in PHP MyAdmin, you have a Drupal 7 database. So how to establish a bridge between these two instances of one is Drupal 7 and second one is Drupal 8. So copy this and I'm gonna pasting it over here. And now I'm giving here a generic name like legacy or anything XYZ, which you can give here. And here you can write your Drupal 7 database name. So my Drupal database name is this. So let me check, like I'm not sure. Okay, so my Drupal 7 databases 7.54 is a version. So 754 is my Drupal 7 database name. And these are the username, passwords, or credentials you have. And you can just use it. Okay, so we have to give it the right permissions. Okay, so now this is saved. So in this way, this word legacy is act as a bridge that will help migrating your content from Drupal 7 website to Drupal 8. Now come again to our presentation. So here it is that I have explained that what legacy is here. And next come on to magic brush command, which will migrate your entities in Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. So entities which is currently available that we can import easily are taxonomies, content types, users, blocks. So these are the entities that we can migrate from 7 to 8 right now because the API is written in such a way and we have better templates for these entities. So here on these entities will gonna work and can be migrated. So let me explain this magic brush command that will import your content. So brush migrate upgrade. Migrate upgrade is comes from the API, Drupal 8 core migrate API. So once you use migrate API, then this is a legacy. Legacy is what that the bridge you have used that from connecting D7 to D8. So this is a term legacy DB URL and your MySQL credentials, your username, your database username, and then your password. And here is your Drupal 7 database name. So here is your MySQL root admin password, and here is your Drupal 7 database name. And after that, the syntax just will follow legacy root, and here is your path where you're gonna store your files or things like so. This is the path for storing your extra container files, the images, and etc. etc. So let me get the final touch. This is the command just copy and paste, and your connection gets established between the 7 database and the 8 database. So this is a brush migrate upgrade, and here is used a configure only thing. So what it will gonna do is it will generate migration configuration entities. So what it says like in Drupal 7, there are lots of templates in taxonomy. There are migration templates. So once you use configure only, then all the list of templates according with the ETL process will get rendered on your terminal, and you can choose like which configuration you want to import, or you can import all configurations at once. So it's totally your choice that how you're going to import it. So after that, this command gets run and the connection gets served between your D7 and D8 database. Next, then you can use your drush commands. So this migrate status, this will give you a huge list of migrations that will appear. And for example, if you have any migrations in between running on or in between progress, so it will give you an entire status of your migration, that what's going to happen and what has been done. which entities get migrated and how many are left. So, for example, if you are exporting your taxonomy, if you're migrating your taxonomy from Drupal 7 website to Drupal 8, then it will show you like your taxonomy is this, and this taxonomy, for example, country have 127 terms. So it will show your complete status, like what things are you need to get imported and how many complications are there. So this command is very helpful. And then you can review, then selectively execute the migrations by using following drush commands. This drush migrate import and your migration name. So for example, after doing migrate status, you will get the whole configurations migrate.taxonomy.xyz. So you can use that migration name and put it over there, the place of migration name placeholder, and you can run that specific migration of taxonomy, and you can see then your Drupal 7 taxonomy, can whole taxonomy get imported into Drupal 8 directly with its replicated machine name and with all its terms, and then you will get a message of success and processes 127 terms and all. So this is the main command for migration, like drush migrate import. And yes, if you wanna import whole migrations, like you have a list of 100 or 1,000 of migrations listed over there in migration status, then you can simply use drush migrate import all. But yeah, it will take a lot of time because the whole site, if you are going to migrate directly, so it's a quite time consuming. And if you have theme also in Drupal 7, that can also be migrated. But one thing that is that I have faced a challenge in migration is when you have a content type and your fields are programmatically created and you are going to migrate your content type fields, then that will create a problem, because if your fields are programmatically created, then migration API will not work over there and those fields will not get migrated. So your main structure of your content type, it will get migrated and you will get a success. But if you are going to import your fields, yeah, it will create a problem. So this is the contributed module, migrate tools, and it provides you these all drush commands, migrate commands, and with the help of these commands you can easily migrate your entities. So what migrate status does, you just have to type like brush migrate status, and it will list all the migrations and their status. And brush migrate import, it will perform import operations and migrate rollback. So for example, accidentally you have imported a taxonomy which you don't want in your D8 site. So if you have imported it accidentally, then yes, surely you can roll back it and perform your rollback operations with the simple command brush migrate rollback. And then the migrate stop. So for example, your it will this command is very helpful as you are in a migration process and it is in between, and you are seeing it like it's taking a lot of time, and you decided in between like you can run a separate migration individually. So you can run the command drush migrate stop, so it will stop the running operations that is currently performing for your migration. Next is your migrate reset status. So it basically sets a migration status to idle if it gets stuck. Migrate message, so it lists any message associated with a migration import. So these are the commands which are very helpful for migrations, and it you can't use it if you will not enable the migration tools module. So these commands are the extensions of the contributed module migrate tools. So where migrations are not yet supported, so In views, you cannot use migration API because still the templates are pending and it cannot be returned. So Drupal community is working on it. Views cannot be migrated yet, and the multilingual content it is also cannot be migrated yet, and custom fields and content types, which I have explained it before also. Like if you have a fields that are programmatically created, so yes, they are difficult to migrate, or if you can't migrate the programmatic field simply. And migrations that supported is only content, users, taxonomy, blocks, menus, and filter formats. So here migration API works, and with the help of Drush migrate upgrade command, you can simply import the entities from Drupal 7 website to Drupal 8. Known issues with the migration of Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 is there's a blog APIs, the IP column from Drupal 7, there is a module ban IP table. Ban IP module is there. So here ban underscore IP underscore table is not migrated. Then menu UI, because you have seen it like in Drupal 7, the entire structure for creating menus is entirely different as you have in Drupal 8. So the menus, menu primary link source and menu secondary link source variables not migrated because yes, they don't have counterparts in Drupal 8. And PHP code, it will be replaced with the filter underscore null, which simply displays an empty string. And PHP code is not supported in Drupal 8 core. It's a very bad practice yet if you are using a PHP code. And simply it should be avoidable in 7 also, and 8 there is not any scope of using PHP code directly anywhere. And views, yes, I've already explained that it migrate API fails here. It cannot be migrated with the help of migration API. So let me show you. I tried to give a demo because my Drush command is not working recently. I'm not installed it. It's not my system. So these are the my Drupal 8 website, and here is three modules: migrate Drupal, and migrate Drupal UI, which are in core. So I'm enabling migrate and migrate Drupal module, and there is three contributed modules which I have told you, like there is a Drupal upgrade, migrate plus, and migrate tools. So these three modules I'm installing it. So it is taking time on installation.
Sugandh, so since the installation is obviously it's going to take some bit of time, and you've shown our audience where to go to get these migrate tools, and it's a through with the presentation. Maybe we could take a couple of questions that have already started coming in from some of our audience.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So first up, the question that I have here is that when we're creating or when we are migrating from D7 to D8, does the target site need a separate folder for the new site and another empty database?
Yes, an empty database is required for of which is of Drupal 8, and the target folder is also required. If you have seen, I have shown you a separate folder link where you have to give the permissions. So here there should be a folder in sites default files. There is a config directory. So here is your whole configuration files or YML files get pasted over here. When you run your drush migrate upgrade command, then whole of your configurations get copied over here. So here is a folder, and you need to give the permissions to this folder actually.
All right. So you do need a separate folder and an empty database, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, great. The next question okay, before I take up the next question, I would like to ask all the participants that if they have any questions for Sugandh, now is the time to type them in, and we'll be taking them up with her one by one. And while you do that, the next question that I have here with me is that what if I run some migration and it has failed? Is it possible to get back or revoke from that state and go back to the previous state?
Yes, definitely yes. I have present one command like drush rollback. So this is the command migrate rollback. So once you use it, and for example, accidentally you have migrated some of your entities which you don't want, or you want to roll back those entities again. So this will revoke or roll back your entities as previously as it was before, and your database will not gonna affect it, and nothing will get migrated then for that specific entity.
Okay, okay, all
So
right.
the command is that.
Sorry, we lost you there for a moment. You said the command is?
The command is drush space migrate dash rollback. And if you are want to roll back whole of your migrations, then you can use drush space migrate rollback space dash dash all. Or if you have a single migration that you want to roll back, then the command is drush migrate rollback and your migration name, migration template name, which you will get when you run the migrate status command.
Okay, okay, all right. The third question that I have here is, are web forms and features also migrated?
No, this feature is not yet included, and for web forms, it is in Drupal 7, and web form is totally excluded from Drupal 8 because it gets in Drupal 8 core. So the API is not helpful yet to migrate content for web forms and features.
Okay, all right. So, one other thing that I wanted you to maybe recap for us once again is the legacy aspect that you said. It would be helpful for a lot of our audience if you could maybe, recap that portion once again for us.
So in your settings.php file here, the path is sites default settings.php. So here you have your DA database, which is by default configured, and your DA database name. So what you have to do is just copy this database, the default database, and paste it over here. And here is a name legacy. You can use any name. I have just used legacy over here, and then the Drupal 7 database name. So this will act as a bridge that will help migrating content from your D7 database to your D8 database. So this is the main thing. Without this, your migration will not work.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you for that. The next question is that based on your experience, can you talk a little about how you determine when a site is not ready for a Drupal 8 upgrade?
Yes. So if your Drupal 7 web database has content types that are having fields, lots of programmatically created. Second, if you have a lot of custom modules in your website, and so these are come under the complex websites. So what you can do is you can migrate your basic entities, like your whole bunch of taxonomies, your whole bunch of content types without fields, and your users, your user roles. So these easily can be migrated to Drupal 8, whether your Drupal 7 database or a website is a huge complex. So this will not gonna create a problem in migrating configurations. The problem only comes where when you have something programmatically created, because APIs are written in a standard way, in a OOPS way. So it will not understand a simple developers code, and it cannot be converted directly to Drupal 8 API. So there only the 8 API fails. Otherwise, the standard entities which are in Drupal 7, that will easily get imported to 8, and no problem occurs over there.
Okay, so you mentioned if a site has custom modules, a lot of custom modules, then the upgrade becomes a little problematic with the API. So the question is, are features also being considered as custom modules?
No, not definitely, because features I have tried, and they are not getting migrated in Drupal 8.
Okay, so even though features are not custom modules, but even then the migrate AP, or migrate module cannot is not does not work very well on while migrating features from V7 to these.
Might be I was having a scenario like I have a content type and the fields were created programmatically. And after that, I have created a feature module from 7. So for that feature module, I have run the migration. Might be happening like because of that particular custom coding that gets involved in my feature module. Because of that, it didn't work. I haven't tried yet that if I have installed only feature with all the core Drupal 7 entities, maybe it may work.
Okay, all right. Now, could you take us through a couple of common challenges that come up when we are doing a D7 to D8 migration? A couple of common challenges that you have encountered and those that can be easily avoided by others.
Challenges are sometimes the migration is so long that it goes stuck in between and it's taking a huge lot of time. So first you tried, okay, it's a maximum execution time. I will increase the execution time. Okay, no problem. So the challenge which I have faced is if you have your migration. Can you repeat your question? Sorry, please.
Some of the common
Hello.
challenges common challenges that you have faced while performing a D7 to D8 migration.
Yes, the challenges which I have faced is if you have a migration running in process, and it is consuming a lot of time. So instead of going with that particular migration, you just wish to stop it for a moment and run all other migrations separately. So I just have tried this, and I used the rush migrate stop command, but after that the migration stuck in between, and it is showing like migration in process and migration in process. So then you have to forcefully stop the migration with the help of brush migrate -f. So it will clear the migration status and whole running migrations in process. And after that, you can run your individual migration again individually with the help of brush migrate import command.
Okay, okay, all right. Another question that I have here is that does partial migration lead the D8 site to WSOD?
WS porting, I'm sorry, I'm not getting you.
All right. So I think our participant will have to clarify that question a little bit. So maybe what you can do is put in your question in a little bit more descriptive terms, so Sugandh can understand it and take that up. Meanwhile, I have another question with me, which is there a post-migration checklist to make sure that the migration has taken place correctly, to validate the migration?
Yes, definitely yes. When you run a Drush migrate status command, it will give you a huge list of configurations that are going to get imported. So there you can see like in status you can see everything like whether the migrations are ready to get imported and or not. So with the help of this command you can see this.
Uh, All right. Getting back to the previous question. So the question was if we are migrating and there is a partial migration, we use something called a white screen of
Hello, sorry your voice is not audible. Hello.
yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so the question was if there is only a partial migration that has taken place, does
Mhm.
she reach a error page where there is no error message shown but just a white screen and nothing else?
Okay. So for this, you can log into your error messages with the there is a one command brush ws tail. So uh, yes. So there is a command brush ws tail with the help of which you can check your error log messages and in if still WSOD is there white screen of death, then you can use PHP log error messages in your .index file where you can see the error messages that where your site went wrong. So it will display error messages actually, but this will definitely help your Drush WSA. It will give you watchdog entries and logging errors.
Okay, okay. Got the answer. And I think one more question we have here right now is that if we have custom content types which have been created with the field collection module in D7,
Sorry, your voice is not audible. Hello? Can you speak a
uh,
little loud?
yeah, okay, is my voice, am I audible right now?
Yes, right.
Okay. So the question is, if we have custom content types that have been created with the field collection module in D7, can we migrate that?
No, migration is not yet work with field collection module, and also the field collection module is soon gonna be deprecated. So the community is not been actively participating in developing the migration API for field collection module. So here the Drupal API gets paid for field collection.
Okay, okay, all right. So finally, in your experience, how much time is saved when we are using the migrate module or the migrate APIs in a D7 to D8 migrate?
Uh, Simply saying, like for the configurations, it's hardly a half an hour task. You just be aware of the Drush commands which are coming with the migrate tools module, the contributed module which we are having by the community. So once you have your configuration setting up in your settings.php, the second step is you have to run this command in your console or in your command line, like drush migrate, upgrade, and your configurations. After this command is get executed, you will see a list of all the migrations, and the third step is the drush migrate import. This will import your D7 configurations to D8. So total three steps are there for simple migration from D7 to D8. So half an hour is also much more time. You can wind up things, and I think 15 minutes is enough.
Okay. That's actually a lot of time saving going on there. Okay. So, going back to the previous question that we had around content types created using the field collection tools. So you said the migrate API is not going to work very well there. So is there any other alternative method of migrating such a site to DA?
The alternative method is simply you can create a module with the that fields created programmatically in Drupal 8 from the scratch, because there is no way of migrating the custom code from 7 to 8. Because like Drupal 8 is entirely built on Symfony framework and using the OOPS and object-oriented concepts, and Drupal 7 is entirely based on procedural approach. So for the custom coding that we are using, there are not any templates that have been written by the community. So we have to do these kind of tasks by our own by simply writing a module from scratch as we do in Drupal 8.
All right. The next question is, if I have a multi-site in B7, uh, and a multi-site with multiple databases, is it possible to migrate it from B7 to B8 using the API?
Configurations will still work if you are having a similar database. I mean, same database you are having.
That is actually not stated currently. No, it's not same database. Different database.
Okay. So the configurations you have for content types like the entities and your taxonomies, your users, that will get migrated easily. But the multilingual part, your multilingual modules or your languages, and the configurations you have related to the multilingual module, that will not migrate it, because here Drupal 8 is still not yet helpful.
Okay, so the parts that are not migrated, we will have to go the old way of creating modules from scratch to migrate them.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I think we've got another about 5 minutes before we wind this up. So if you have any last questions, now would be the time to give them in. And Sugandh, would you have any sort of like a checklist or a sort of a couple of pointers that developers should keep in mind while they're using the Migrate API and performing a B7 to B8 migration?
Yeah, the couple of points are don't stop the running migration in between. Better you should use Drush migrate rollback to roll back in your migrations. Don't stop in between migrations. And Drush is a good way either if you are using UI because you are still under development, it's not complete. And better use Drush upgraded version, and I have used it PHP 7 here, so Drush 8.1.2 it worked, and I have used PHP 7. So above 5.6 PHP version, it will gonna work, and it should be better if you are using Drupal 8 stable newest version, latest release if you are using.
All right, so that was a quick couple of pointers for all developers to keep in mind while performing a B7 to B8 migration. I think so. That's about all we have, all the questions we have for tonight. And okay, fine, we have another question. Any measures that need to be taken while migrating from B7 to B8 with the perspective of theming? Any precautions or things that we should keep in mind?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
So, any measures that need to be taken while migrating from B7 to B8 from the perspective of theming?
No, you when you will run the Drush migrate upgrade command, there is a configuration file of theming template. So that configuration file is like seen individually, and you can run that particular theme configuration with the help of Drush migrate import and space your theming configuration file, and your Drupal 7 theme will get simply migrated to Drupal 8. The only thing is like if you're not having much more custom coding over there, so the entire structure of, for example, Bartik, if it is in D7, so it will get migrated to D8.
Okay, okay, all right. So, I think we're just about ready to wrap things up here. And thanks a lot, Sugandh, for taking up all those questions and patiently answering and taking us through your presentation and taking us through all of these steps. And I am sure all our participants have learned a lot from here and are ready to go back and implement all of this onto their projects. So that's all for now, and I would like to thank Sugandh for joining us today and all our participants as well for joining us today. And I would just like to remind that our next webinar is on the 30th of August and it's going to be about using the Lean and the Scrum framework to create value for your customers and build products that your customers want. So stay tuned for more details on that session and also the entire presentation and the recording of one session is going to be in your inboxes by sometime tomorrow. So stay tuned for that as well. Once again, thank you all for joining and that's all from the Srijan webinar team today.
Thank you everyone. Yeah, good night.